This may come as a surprise to many of you, but I was a mall rat in my teenage years. Shocking, I know. So I worked, as all good Christian children did. My first job was Chick-fil-A at the mall. My pleasure. My pleasure. It was before the my pleasure thing, and I wouldn't have been able to say that with a straight face. So I was 15 years old. It was my first job, and I loved the mall. All the cool people were there, and all the boys I had a crush on were there. And I had a crush on all boys, but that didn't matter because the ones at the mall were really cute, and they were older, and most of y'all know that's my thing. So I'm working, and I have 3 little brothers. So one of them has passed away. Dave died 4 years ago. So me and my other 2 brothers all have a tattoo to honor him. He was an electrician, so we got a symbol associated with being an electrician. But when Dave was alive, and I would say this to his face, God is my witness, he was a terror sometimes, and so was Joel and Jonathan, the other 2. They were really bad, and they got a lot of attention. And because I've always been so well put together, and so mature, and so responsible, I often got overlooked, maybe, by my parents who were dealing with, children getting expelled from school, or arrested, or a baby needed his diaper changed, or whatever. I often got overlooked because I could walk from my high school to the mall. The mall was a free babysitter for a young woman who was just, figuring out that she liked pot and sex. So I'm working at Chick-fil-A, and I had a really shitty night. The owner of Chick-fil-A, she was the owner of this franchise at the mall, was very nice, but her niece was a stone-cold bitch. Her name was Liz. I still remember that. No offense to anyone named Liz, but every time I hear that name, I get a little bit, I need to pray for her. So, because I was in youth group, and that's what you do when you hate someone, you pray for them. So I had this really terrible night, and I got off work, and we did this thing where we would trade chicken nuggets, salads, wraps, whatever, for movie tickets, and we had a movie theater. And I had traded a whole bunch of food for movie tickets. And then I was like, well, I don't really want to go to a movie. I had a bad night. I just want to go home. So I called my mom to come pick me up because she didn't know yet whether I was going to a movie or not. She didn't answer. And I thought, all right, that's fine. I'll just go to the bookstore, Borders, which I ended up working at when I was 19. Best job I ever had. It was amazing. Free CDs, free coffee. I went to Borders. And if y'all were here last month, you saw me read from some of my childhood journals, some of the very mature, thoughtful, emotional musings of a 16-year-old girl. Most of that stuff was written on the couch in the cafe at Borders Books. I would walk around, get my drink, flirt with the guys that clearly were not interested in the child that I was, but they said hi and they smiled at me, so they totally wanted to date me. Then I'd flirt, and then I'd sit on the couch and write my poetry. And then, because they all knew me so well, because I was a mall rat, I would just walk up to one of their in-store phones and pick it up to call my mom. And they all knew me and it was fine. So I called my mom again. She didn't answer. I'm like, all right, she's probably busy, whatever. And then I hear over the intercom, attention Borders customers, the time is now 9:55. We will be closing in 5 minutes. Please take your purchases to the register. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm like, oh crap, they're closing in 5 minutes. I can't get a hold of my mom. I didn't have a cell phone because they were right on the cusp of coming out. So call my mom again. Then I called my dad, who lived in Macon, clearly couldn't do anything, but I thought maybe if mom saw him calling, she would answer that. So we did have caller ID. My dad didn't answer either. He was already asleep. So I just sat there outside the mall. And I watched people come and go, saw some of my friends come and go. Now this is a school night. This was a Thursday, maybe a Tuesday. And I'm sitting outside the mall, and I have nothing to do except write my emo poetry and my journal entries about how my parents hate me, which is clearly being displayed by the fact that they weren't answering the phone to pick me up from work. So I sat there, and I sat there. Then a mall security guard comes around about 11, and he says, what are you doing out here? And he thinks I'm probably up to no good. And I said, oh, I'm just waiting on my mom. It's like, okay. And he drives off, and I sit there, and I write. I don't even know what time it is at this point. I didn't have a watch. So then he comes back, and he asks if I'm okay. And I said, I don't know where my mom is. I can't get a hold of her. I don't know what's going on. He's like, well, it's 12 o'clock. You should probably go home. I didn't realize it was 12 o'clock. So the mall security guard gives me a ride home. I lived about 6 minutes from the mall. I didn't know this person. He was just an older, nice guy. Not the kind I was flirting with. More of like a, well, I won't even say dad type, because that's the kind I would flirt with. But anyways, he was just a nice older man, and there was no interaction. So he drops me off. I can't get in my house when I get home, and banging on the door, so I end up going through the back way that everyone knew if you lift a window up, you could get in. And I go and I wake my mom up, and I'm crying, and she starts crying, because she's like, oh my God, I fell asleep, and your brother was doing this, and your brother was doing that. And then I was like, okay, whatever, I'm going to bed. And I skipped school the next day. She let me because she felt so bad. And my mom's really easy to guilt into things, which I think is why my brothers ended up utilizing that information. That, as depressing as it is to end the story there, that's kind of the story of my teenage years, is that my brothers stole all the attention of my parents, and they forgot about me a lot of times. Now, thankfully, I'm very good friends with my mother now, and I've forgiven everyone, because I think ultimately it's our responsibility to get over the things we went through, to a degree. I mean, you can't always get past trauma, but I know that my mom did the best she could for having 3 shitty boys and a perfect angel of a daughter. So yeah, that's my story of how I was stranded at the mall and wasn't.